Hello, I'm Nate, aka B-Tier Mutineer, and today I want to share some thoughts with you about the demos I played during Steam's NextFest running from October 14th to October 21st. If you're intrigued by any of the games I've shown here, you can play the demos for yourself on Steam and see if it's something you want to add to your wishlist or not. As a note, I'm extremely picky with games, even free demos, so this list is likely smaller than what you may expect from a highlights video by other creators. Furthermore, while I usually just talk about RPGs here, there are other genres I enjoy, so you will see non-RPGs in here too. I looked at as many games as I could just to ensure I didn't miss out on something potentially cool. Because I looked at so many, if I see the words roguelike or roguelite again too soon, I think I'm gonna puke. I understand devs think roguelikes or roguelites are the hot thing now, but that doesn't mean that if everyone makes a shitty one, it will automatically be popular. Even worse if you just mash together various genres you think are popular by making some kind of monstrosity like a roguelike deck-building extraction shooter. Stop that. Make a game you actually want to make. Make a game that actually means something, not just a product to sell. With that little rant out of the way, let's get into the demos I played during Steam NextFest. I'll be talking about them in alphabetical order since that's the easiest way to organize them. Abbey is a colony sim-style management game in which you build and expand your monastery by brewing ale. You get to make your own recipes by combining ingredients in different ratios, you assign one of your cute fermentines to brew the ale, and you can sell it in various towns or even accept orders that you need to deliver by a certain time to get more money than by the usual selling. Due to the fact that I've only talked about RPGs so far on my channel, you may not know this about me, but I really love city builders, colony sims, shop management, these kinds of games. Some of my favorites are Against the Storm, Frostpunk, Cat Cafe Manager, 2 Point Campus and 2 Point Hospital, Fallout Shelter, Potioncraft, Civilization 4, and 6, though I know these are 4X games, but whatever. I have been forever wanting something that feels similar to Fallout Shelter, but is set in a non-sci-fi world, and I think Abbey has exactly that kind of charm and fun feel to it. Fallout Shelter is a comfort game that I play every once in a while when I feel overwhelmed by the thought of playing something too intense and just need to relax. It has a cute art style as well as easy and satisfying gameplay. I can definitely see Abbey becoming the same kind of comfort game for me because I played it for over an hour before I remembered that I was recording footage and ended up with a huge video file because of that. I was just completely engrossed in figuring out how to make my little fermentines happy, which one of them was the best at brewing ales, what stuff I wanted to research, how I wanted to decorate my monastery. I had a ton of fun with this demo, and this game is absolutely a day one purchase for me. Can't wait to see all the new things they add in the release version. I think Abbey has huge potential to become a big hit. Not only is the gameplay fun, but the art style is beautiful, even if it's pixel art, which is usually not my thing. The font is readable, which to me is extremely important. The music and sound effects are on point, the title tells you exactly what it is, and the writing is charming. What more do you need? Broken Alliance is a turn-based adventure strategy game made by the developers of Death and Taxes. I didn't play Death and Taxes, but I was intrigued by Broken Alliance because it reminds me of Heroes of Might and Magic. The third game was one of my favorites as a kid. Overall, this game gave me a positive impression, first because the visuals and gameplay are polished and feel satisfying, and second because the atmosphere is on point. The visual design, while pixel art, manages to be its own unique and beautiful thing. I say this because I'm not a fan of pixel art as I mentioned earlier, but I really like the look of characters and environments in Broken Alliance. I admit I was a bit confused when I saw the card element in the turn-based battles. I was like, oh no, not another card battler for no reason. But it actually works quite well, and it ends up giving a very similar vibe to Heroes without copying its combat style. I imagine this is likely why the devs went with cards instead of the basic Heroes-like turn-based combat. They wanted something that feels fresh, and I think it works. The sound effects are satisfying. Just wanted to mention this because while people may not think much about sound effects, having really good ones makes a game much more enjoyable. I do have two negative points to mention: the voice acting and the font. The voice acting was 1, too slow, and 2, not good quality, sound or acting wise. So I very quickly skipped through lines at the beginning and then turned off the voice sound completely. However, the font was much worse because it's a particular pixel style font that has the letters too small and too close together, and it gives me a headache if I try to read it. I tried in the beginning to read through the narration and dialogue, but it was far too taxing on my eyes and my head started to hurt, so I began skipping through the text, which is supposed to be a major part of the game. So while with the voice acting I think it's fine to keep it as is, because the player can turn voices off if they want to, with fonts I think something has to be done to improve the readability. If they really want to keep this specific pixel font as the main one, I highly recommend adding a second option that is more readable for people like me who may have trouble reading the original font. Overall, however, even though I skipped through the text because I couldn't read it, I really enjoyed the gameplay in the demo, and I look forward to seeing more of the game later on. I saw that it's releasing on October 24th, but I'm assuming that's when early access starts. So there is still plenty of time to add a new font and fix some of the issues, perhaps fix the sound mixing on the voice lines and speed them up slightly. Anyway, I highly recommend giving Broken Alliance a try if you like Heroes of Might and Magic and want something similar for the nostalgia vibes, while still keeping the experience fresh. Citizen Sleeper 2: Starward Vector is the sequel to the very well received RPG Citizen Sleeper, that I still haven't gotten to play yet. I admit I am put off by the randomness of the dice, and even after playing this demo, I still feel it's an annoying mechanic since if you just get shitty dice, you can't really make anything work, despite having bonuses to your chosen skills. Look, I understand that with these games, people are trying to recreate what it's like to play a TTRPG in real life. But the thing is, when you play a TTRPG with actual people, you have a game master, a real person who gets to decide how NPCs and the world react to your actions. So even if you roll poorly, maybe the GM gives you advantage because you had a really good idea, or lowers the DC, or even fudges the dice rolls of NPCs in order to make a better interactive story together with the players. With a video game, you don't get this part, and so the dice end up feeling very artificial. I will say that the setting and story pulled me in enough for me to engage with the gameplay until the end of the demo, even if I didn't enjoy the dice system, so there's that. I don't know whether I'd buy this game at full price, on sale, or at all, just like I still haven't bought the first one despite the glowing reviews. If you're fine with RNG dictating your story to such a large extent, and you're also okay with reading huge paragraphs of text without voice acting, the writing is solid and the world building is intriguing. However, if either of these things is a friction point for you, the game may be too frustrating to enjoy. I certainly felt frustrated having to put shitty dice into boxes, or else end the cycle early so that I'd get a new set of dice, and occasionally my eyes just gloss over the text. It's hard to focus on reading big paragraphs one after the other without much interaction to break it up, or without voice acting helping you to refocus on the text, especially if a big chunk of those paragraphs is just descriptions of locations or too much exposition. Still, if you enjoy RPGs that are text heavy and you like sci-fi settings, give this demo a try since obviously lots of people loved the first Citizen Sleeper enough for the devs to make a sequel. It's not my type of game, but that doesn't mean it's not a good quality RPG. Craft Fantasy Merchant Simulator is a crafting/shop management game that I've had my eye on for a while. The interesting thing about the game is that you actually craft each item rather than just manage a shop. The not so fun part is that you actually craft each item. Let me explain. In the demo, I had to craft 3 items: a dagger, a tiara, and a sword. The dagger and the sword essentially amounted to the same steps, only the sword took longer to craft because it was bigger. I enjoyed the rhythm game of hitting the metal with a hammer because the song was satisfying with Skyrim-like shouts whenever you hit the thing correctly. Using the bellows on the forge was boring, and polishing the blade was actively annoying because it took so long to properly make it sharp and shiny. The tiara was intriguing since it involved putting various pieces together and then decorating the base design. However, I had no idea I could move through the pages of my almanac and find more designs than just the first 2 I saw when I first opened the book. So I struggled to use the pieces that I had to make a design I didn't really like. And even so, I wouldn't really enjoy crafting another tiara following the same steps. My problem with these crafting minigames is that they already felt a bit annoying to do even on my first try, so I can't really see myself enjoying playing this game for more than an hour, maybe 2 hours tops. A good example I can give that works well is potion craft, which makes the process of crafting potions an interesting exploration puzzle where you use different ingredients to move across the map of possible effects. Combine that with customers asking for certain extra effects, restrictions on ingredient usage and so on, and it makes the crafting experience feel less samey. And of course, you also get to save recipes in your recipe book so that you don't have to keep recrafting the same thing over and over again, especially if it's a simpler potion with only one effect. Craft unfortunately goes all in on always crafting the items, not giving you a way to automate at least part of the process. In the demo, that is. I don't know how the full game will look like, obviously. In the current state of the game, it's much less fun than I thought it would be, so it's quite a disappointment. I enjoy management style games, so I was hoping I would enjoy this one. As it stands, I'm removing it from my wishlist. I don't really know whether the gameplay will be enjoyable enough for you, so you'll have to give it a try for yourself and see how you feel. Keep Driving is an atmospheric management RPG about life on the open road. It has a cool vibe and the story seems like it would be nice, but unfortunately the execution is lacking. I played the demo for about 2 hours trying to figure out what the good and bad parts were, and more importantly trying to figure out how the hell you're supposed to play. The basics are okay. You look on the map and choose a nearby location to travel to with your car. The map is randomly generated with different towns and different types of roads that impact road events connecting them. The road events are where the combat system kicks in. I found the system heavily favoring the mechanic background because with the other two backgrounds, unemployed and student, I just kept losing a lot of car durability no matter how much duct tape I went through, and ended up with 0 durability before I could even reach a city that had a garage to repair the car. I don't think the road event system is bad per se, but clearly the backgrounds and skills aren't well balanced, and more importantly, the game has too much randomness. If you start the game and get offered a shitty map that doesn't have a garage in the first 2 or 3 locations and you aren't a mechanic, you'll probably lose because you run out of durability. If you get unlucky with the random events, you lose. If you don't find expensive items to sell as part of random events, you'll run out of money and not be able to buy gas anymore, especially if this is combined with having a shitty map that doesn't have any jobs or tasks you can actually complete early on. Bottom line, you get unlucky, you lose. Not very much you can do through skill and strategy to win despite bad luck. At least, not that I could figure out. I wanted to like it. I wanted to get to the story moments, but I kept getting my car totaled, and in my third playthrough, when I chose the mechanic background and didn't have issues with durability anymore, the game started to feel boring. I had also gotten very lucky with events during my third attempt. I could solve them in a few rounds at most. I found all sorts of items on the roadside or abandoned cars so I could sell items or use them. The map itself had good locations, so I beelined to a place that had a garage, got some better tires, then went to a place that had jobs so I could have enough money for gas and other supplies for longer. But then, because my good run wasn't really good because of my actions, it was just RNG, I got bored and didn't want to play anymore, even though I had likely been able to get to the final destination easily and see one of the endings for the demo. My conclusions about Keep Driving are interesting concept, poor execution, too much RNG. It may be a game to keep an eye on, however, especially if they work to fix these issues. I hope they can figure out how to make it fun to play, because I think I'd really enjoy going through various versions of the story if the gameplay felt satisfying. These have been the games I tried out and found interesting during NextFest. There were great games like Abbey that I can't wait to play on release. Some were intriguing, but perhaps not 100% there yet, like Broken Alliance and Keep Driving. Others were either a complete disappointment, like Craft, or cool but not my cup of tea, like Citizen Sleeper 2. You may be wondering why I didn't try out New Arcline, the steampunk RPG that has frequently been compared to Arcanum, and which I'm sure is one of the most played demos during this event. I did consider it. I even installed a demo. But then I realized that with this demo I won't really get a good idea of what the game is like, because it's still in a too early, rough state. I'd much rather just wait for it to come out and watch Mortismo Gaming's review of it to decide whether or not I want to get it for myself. There were also a couple of other games I wanted to try, but I didn't have the time to do it before making this video. The Stone of Madness and The Protagonist. The Stone of Madness looks very promising. I love the stylized 2D visuals, and I think the premise of the game is cool. It's a real-time tactical stealth game set in an 18th century Spanish monastery made by the developers of Blasphemous. 5 prisoners have to team up to uncover the mysteries of the monastery and find a way to escape. I might even make a short video about it once I've tried the demo if I think it's really good. But even so, I definitely recommend taking a look at it if the concept intrigues you. The Protagonist, on the other hand, doesn't seem like it would be long enough for me to enjoy, but I find the concept interesting. It's an adventure game in which you play the side characters in a medieval village and decide to help or hinder the adventurer in their quest. It has a quite simple 2D art style, and as I said, I think it will likely be too short, although it says it has multiple endings, so maybe it's replayable enough to feel worth the money. Still, I'll likely give the demo a shot and keep an eye on the game to see what people are saying about it after it launches on October 24th. I hope you enjoyed this look at the games I found interesting during this month's NextFest. I'm very curious to know what demos you enjoyed. Let me know down below. If you're looking forward to more videos about RPGs and other games I like, do remember to subscribe and leave a like and comment while you're at it too. They really help. A special thank you to my members who help keep this channel running. I'd really appreciate it if you consider joining the channel as a member to support me and unlock perks like early access to videos. This has been B Tier Mutineer. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.